Tonight, a solemn Memorial Day as America approaches a grim milestone. Massive crowds at beaches, packed pool parties, and protests as Americans mark the holiday during the coronavirus pandemic. Many ignoring social distancing as the U.S. death toll nears 100,000. And the leap of faith with more churches reopening. How are they keeping worshipers safe? Also, President Trump paying tribute at Arlington National Cemetery. And after his weekend trips to the golf course, lashing out at his critics, among them Joe Biden. What Biden said today, appearing in public for the first time in 2 months. The new travel ban set to take effect on visitors from Brazil, now the world's second most infected country. Our team is there inside a field hospital. The new surveillance, the college student suspected in 2 murders on the run, the FBI now joining the urgent manhunt across 3 states. The somber tributes this Memorial Day, parades down empty streets, as this year we also honor the many veterans lost to COVID-19. Back in the game, is the NBA close to restarting the season? The moving moment caught on one family's ring cam inspiring America. And America's return to space. Let the countdown to history begin.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Welker in Tonight for Lester. This is traditionally a time for family and for honoring the nation's fallen heroes. But this year, as the death toll from COVID-19 nears 100,000, there are reminders everywhere that this is a Memorial Day unlike any other. Across the country, eager crowds taking advantage of the unofficial start to summer, prompting stern warnings from health officials. But at Arlington National Cemetery, where the president spent part of his day, there were no crowds. Instead, solemn and socially distanced tributes to those who've made the ultimate sacrifice. We have it all covered, and we begin tonight with NBC's Miguel Almaguer.
As Americans mark Memorial Day, crowds gathered at beaches, boardwalks, and swimming pools across the country, a troubling celebration during a national health crisis. At lakes of the Ozarks in Missouri, little social distancing and few were wearing masks. This waterfront community now the center of outrage after a party during a pandemic.
My buddy had said, I heard the place is packed, so let's go by and check it out. So we pull in there, walk through kind of a crowd, go upstairs and look over to the pool. Absolutely packed.
As a restless nation battles quarantine fatigue, more states are easing restrictions. But for some, it came too fast.
This is truly the Wild West. It went from kind of a lockdown to just total chaos.
The resort town of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, flooded by visitors after the state Supreme Court struck down stay-at-home restrictions.
We had to literally close our doors and stop letting people in the building several different times.
On some of the most iconic beaches in Southern California, Memorial Day has always drawn a crowd. But this year, you must wear a mask, a rule hardly enforced and rarely being followed.
There's also rebellion in Texas. In spite of the governor's order, this water park opened. Long lines, no spacing, no masks. With large groups openly defying local mandates, tonight in hard-hit New Jersey, protesters, many shoulder to shoulder without masks, believe the coronavirus lockdown is killing the economy.
This is a sham of a hoax. It's got nothing to do with a virus or safety. It's got everything to do with control.
But there are reasons for concern. At this Great Clips in Missouri, 2 hairstylists worked while sick. Now at least 140 clients have been exposed to the virus, including Eric Chase.
All of this because someone wasn't responsible.
In Alabama today, no holiday for doctors. Cases soaring to some 15,000 so far.
I'm used to taking care of sick patients. I'm used to seeing death in the ICU, but the volume of death and not being able to help my patients is just heartbreaking.
Tonight, as the virus continues to spread, more Americans are enjoying their freedom this holiday weekend. Freedom they could lose again if they don't follow the rules. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News, Los Angeles.
President Trump spent this Memorial Day honoring the sacrifices of America's servicemen and women, including those who've lost their lives to coronavirus. But the president is also facing some new criticism. Hans Nichols is at the White House.
President Trump marking Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery with a presidential tradition on an untraditional day. The cemetery still closed to the public because of coronavirus, but the tomb of the unknown soldier still guarded. Later, at a ceremony at Fort McHenry in Baltimore, President Trump honored the Americans who have succumbed to coronavirus.
As one nation, we mourn alongside every single family that has lost loved ones.
And vowed victory over what he called the invisible enemy.
Together, we will vanquish the virus.
With former Vice President Joe Biden venturing out of his home for the first time in 2 months, paying his respects to the fallen at a war memorial in Delaware. Wearing a mask, a stark contrast to President Trump today. The somber split screen coming on the heels of a political dust-up over the weekend, with the Biden campaign tweeting out a digital ad criticizing the president for golfing during the pandemic. The president defending his outing on Twitter. I played golf over the weekend. The fake and totally corrupt news makes it sound like a mortal sin. And hinting at the next reopening battle, demanding schools in our country should be open ASAP. Most schools have been closed since March, and many have canceled classes for the rest of the year. And in a report to Congress, the Trump administration says it's still relying on the states to expand testing capacity, pledging to buy them 100 million more swabs by the end of the year. Kristen?
Hans Nichols reporting from the White House. Hans, thank you for that. Well, President Trump is also announcing another travel ban, this time barring visitors coming to the U.S. from Brazil, where coronavirus is now spreading faster than anywhere else. Our Bill Neely is there and takes us inside a field hospital on the front lines.
Soccer's World Cup was once played here. Now a global disease is treated here. At a field hospital next to Brazil's biggest stadium, one woman's heart has just stopped. She was brought back to life, but more than 50 have died here in 2 weeks.
This is one of 7 field hospitals going up in Rio alone. The problem is they just can't be built fast enough.
Another wing is ready to open, 200 patients waiting, ambulances arriving. Doctors have only one word for it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Now, President Trump has slapped a travel ban, barring any foreigner from entering the US from Brazil starting late Tuesday. His ally, Brazil's president, joined anti-lockdown protesters as the death toll topped 20,000. He took off his mask, hugged children and called for restrictions to end. Freedom, he said, above all else. Earlier, he was heckled. Killer, one woman shouted. In the tightly packed homes of Brazil's biggest slum, the virus is on a rampage, lockdown or not. This woman names 4 friends who've died. Amid this poverty, it's spreading faster in this country than anywhere.
Almost 1,000 people are now dying here every day, and many doctors have told me they believe Brazil is a week or 2 away from its peak of infections. Kristen?
Bill Neely, thank you. And back here at home, a fierce battle over reopening houses of worship as health experts fear large gatherings could trigger new outbreaks. Here's Blaine Alexander.
The separation between church and state is facing a new test as houses of worship nationwide fight to open their doors. In Minnesota, with malls starting to reopen, some pastors announced plans to do the same in direct defiance of the state's order. Now, Governor Tim Walz is changing course.
We have a solid plan that, if followed, can keep people safe. It was a compromise.
In Florida, Catholic Mass will be allowed to resume in Miami-Dade and Broward counties starting tomorrow. And the restrictions end today in Cleveland and Atlanta as churches prepare to celebrate Pentecost this Sunday.
We have built a plan to slowly allow people to re-enter our parish buildings.
And today, California Governor Gavin Newsom issued strict new guidelines for churches to reopen in the coming weeks. CDC guidelines recommend limiting shared materials like prayer books or rugs. And rather than passing a collection plate, worshipers are encouraged to use a stationary box or online giving. At Blessed Sacrament Church in Massachusetts, they're taking note.
There are 45 slots in this church that normally seats 600. In order for people to come to church, they have to register.
For weeks, health officials have traced outbreaks to houses of worship. That's why many leaders say it's still too soon.
Right now, it's truly irresponsible to open the doors of our church.
At Cascade United Methodist Church in Atlanta, Pastor Kevin Muriel says this sanctuary could sit empty for months to come. Also empty, more than 500 African Methodist Episcopal churches across Georgia ordered closed until at least mid-June.
If we can ensure that any member or any visitor that comes to Cascade is safe, without any opportunity for the coronavirus to spread within our church, then that's when we'll come back.
Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Atlanta.
We will be right back in 60 seconds with the new image just released in the manhunt for a college student and murder suspect. Plus, America getting back into the space race. The FBI has now joined the urgent manhunt for a college student in Connecticut suspected in 2 murders. And tonight, police have released a new surveillance image of the suspect. NBC's Erin McLaughlin has more.
Tonight, a multi-state manhunt for a college senior suspected of killing 2 people. Identified by police as 23-year-old Peter Manfredonia, enrolled at the University of Connecticut. Authorities released this surveillance image, which they say shows him walking along a train track in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Sunday afternoon.
We know that he is armed and dangerous. If anybody has any information or if they see this individual, please do not approach him and call 911.
The hunt for Manfredonia began Friday morning in Willington, Connecticut. Police allege he attacked 2 men with an edged weapon, killing 62-year-old Theodore Demers.
He was going to be a grandfather for the first time next month.
His wife telling the Hartford Courant the victims had offered Manfredonia a ride. Sunday morning, just 6 miles away, police say another man alleged Manfredonia held him against his will and then fled with several guns, some food, and his truck.
They have to get him. They have to catch him. He can't get away with this.
Authorities say he then went to nearby Derby, Connecticut, where he killed 23-year-old Nicholas Eisel. Police describe the suspect as a 6'3" white male with disheveled black hair, brown eyes, and weighing approximately 240 pounds. Late today, a spokesperson for the family.
From your parents, we love you. Please turn yourself in.
Erin McLaughlin, NBC News.
Well, unlike past Memorial Days, this year many Americans are not traveling, even though gas prices are at their lowest in nearly 20 years. And that plunging demand for fuel is leaving some communities just devastated. Our Morgan Chesky is in one town reeling from the crisis.
In Cushing, Oklahoma, dawn only brings a growing disaster. Millions of gallons of oil filling every storage tank in sight. Too cheap to sell, too valuable to dump.
It's when that oil price turned red, scariest thing I've ever seen.
From his diner on Main Street, Chris Kinsey's had a front row seat to oil busts before.
To have both of these situations, the virus and the oil business, hit us all at one time, it's the only way I can describe it as a bloodbath.
Here in Oklahoma, the pandemic's impact was almost immediate. The very wells these communities grew up around suddenly pulled up oil that nobody wanted, and more importantly, no one could sell. Off the coast of California, an army of oil tankers have been sitting full for weeks, each one costing $100,000 a day just to wait.
Nobody's driving, nobody's flying planes, and everybody's holed up in their house. There's no vacationers. I mean, it should have been obvious that the glut that was already there was going to get worse.
Now small producers like Brett Anderson are considering capping wells and walking away forever.
Are you ready to say goodbye?
I think I am. I mean, I don't know what else to do. You can't keep putting money into it. Can't breathe life into a dead horse.
Gas prices have plunged ahead of summer travel season, and market analysts predict more than 1 million oil field service jobs will be cut over the next year, adding to already historic unemployment.
If you don't have money, if you don't have an income, it doesn't matter what the gas price is, it's still too high.
For communities built around oil, the rising cost of a pandemic taking a devastating toll. Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Cushing, Oklahoma.
We could be just 48 hours away from history unfolding in space. SpaceX making the final preparations tonight in Florida for the first launch of American astronauts from U.S. soil in nearly a decade. Tom Costello has more.
On the pad at the Kennedy Space Center, America's next generation of spaceflight. A Crew Dragon space capsule sitting on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. After catching rides on Russian rockets for 9 years, American astronauts are about to lift off from American soil on an American rocket. But for the first time in history, it's up to a private company to carry 2 veteran NASA astronauts to the space station, Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken.
As far as InSight goes, we've had
probably more than any crew has in recent history, just in terms of understanding the different scenarios that are on our plate.
SpaceX has been flying a cargo version of the rocket to the space station for years, but this is the first time it will carry humans. Complicating the mission, the coronavirus has forced half the SpaceX engineers to work from home. The astronauts taking regular COVID tests and remaining isolated.
We have been in quarantine probably longer than any other space crew has ever been in the history of the space program.
On the orbiting space station, keeping the virus out is a top concern.
You run a large chance of all 6 of us or all 5 of us getting it. So it's very, very critical that we keep it at 250 miles below us.
SpaceX has suffered setbacks in the past, but has racked up an impressive track record of success. Founder Elon Musk tweeting in recent days, "Super exciting day coming up. Open your eyes, look up to the skies." Liftoff is set for 4:33 p.m. on Wednesday, the mission lasting 1 to 4 months, depending on how it goes. Kristen?
We will all be watching. Tom Costello, thank you for that. Up next, Memorial Day tributes to heroes we lost then and now. This Memorial Day is an especially somber one as we remember the American heroes lost serving our country and also those taken by COVID-19. Here's Ron Allen.
For the first time in 152 years, a march down an empty street in Ironton, Ohio, where thousands normally attend one of the nation's longest continuously held Memorial Day parades. Across the country, with events canceled or curtailed, virtual and socially distanced remembrances the order of the day, honoring America's heroes who've made the ultimate sacrifice.
It's so unusual to be here without the memorial courtyard being packed with people.
God bless America.
Memorial Day even more poignant with the pandemic claiming the lives of so many veterans in long-term care facilities. At least 90 honored at this Soldiers' Home in Massachusetts.
The Soldiers' Home in Holyoke Memorial Day ceremony is always a solemn occasion, but even more so this year.
A somber holiday with a nation on the verge of 100,000 deaths due to COVID-19. Flags at half-staff to honor them. 1,000 names published on the front page of the New York Times. An incalculable loss. The nation separated and apart on this holiday while coming together to honor and remember those who gave their lives. Ron Allen, NBC News.
Reminder of what this day is all about. And we'll be right back. Finally, tonight, a powerful reminder about all the delivery workers who've become so critical in this crisis. Ann Thompson with the video inspiring America.
In pictures, you can see what an adorable 8-month-old Lucas Pearson is. What you can't see is the cardiovascular anomaly that puts the Idaho child at risk for COVID.
I just wish they understood, how scared we are.
Raquel and Derek Pearson are doing everything to protect their son, including ordering in his supplies, thanking the delivery people who risk their lives to make Lucas's possible. But through a doorbell camera, they saw driver Monica Salinas do something more.
I saw her do this kind of the crowd. Oh my gosh, she's praying. It's been really hard for us to get through this.
Salinas says she just listened to her heart.
Just pray that they can make it, through another day.
The Pearsons posted the video on Facebook, generating hosannas of praise for Salinas.
That makes me happy. God can touch people like that.
Sometimes the most powerful messages need no words. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Powerful indeed. That is Nightly News on this Memorial Day. We leave you with images from Arlington National Cemetery. I'm Kristen Welker. For all of us at NBC News, thank you for watching and good night.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.